So you have a tender rate and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One ideas, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints Podcast.
Sponsored by MIDLAND, communication for every adventure, the industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MYMEDIC. Sponsored by TEMBO TUSK. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DMOS Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
What's up, Mike?
Oh, Phil, it has been, do I look stressed? Because I feel stressed.
You look great, man.
Okay, well, I'm pretty stressed out. I'm out here on the East Coast, working full-time all day long, building a truck. So it's been busy, been super busy. I've not stopped since I last saw you at Overland Expo West. Let's put it that way.
I know I sent out a little teaser, if you saw it on my Instagram, showing the last little video of your vehicle.
Put it up, yeah.
How much can you tell me? I know you can't tell, you're not ready to tell much, but how much can you tell us about your new vehicle?
Well, I think by the time this podcast comes out, I'm going to be announcing the new truck. So it is it's the same as the truck that you're looking at right behind me there. It is a store in Stevenson. It is going to be very similar. However, it is a little bit longer and it will accommodate my motorcycle in a garage in the back inside as opposed to being outside. And I'm super excited about this because I didn't really get a chance to film the whole build last time because I was in such a rush moving from the Unimog into the store in Stevenson that I just really didn't film it very properly. So I've already been filming a lot. I've got a ton of footage already shot of the first couple of weeks of us building it. And it is actually the reason I'm sitting here right now. I'm sitting inside indoors in a condo and not working on the truck today is because it's actually at the metal fab shop. So a big production going on with that truck this week and next week. We're adding and lengthening the box on it. So and building out the garage and everything. So there's a lot of work happening on it. Crossing my fingers, I am ahead of schedule right now. I actually didn't think that I was that the sale of the last truck. I didn't really expect it to happen right there in Flagstaff and then get a U-Haul truck and then drive across the country in 3 days. And so I actually ended up here on the East Coast, like, I don't know, probably a week and a half or 2 weeks earlier than I expected. So I've worked for a full 2 weeks already when I really thought I would be getting here around now. So crossing our fingers, that stays on target. I would like to be wrapped building. I know it sounds like people that don't do this don't really understand the speed at which I work, but I expect to be completed with the truck at the end of August. So my bulk of my work is going to happen from July 15th to the end of August, so a month and a half. Really right now, it's just a bunch of prep for the construction part of the building, the actual box, and it's going to go to paint after that. But like I said, I'm ahead of schedule. We have built out, we've insulated the cab already. I've got, most of the leather padding and stuff for the doors all cut and installed. I've done, the cab was stripped out of everything. The seats, the Shieldmon seats are going in. So, I mean, the cab is actually 75% complete already. So I'm moving right along with it. I kind of work almost like I call it dysfunctional. Like one day I'll be on the cab, the next day I'm working in the back of the truck, the next day I'm underneath painting something. But I have a system to my madness, but it's from the outside it might look like I'm just bouncing around doing all sorts of different stuff on it. But and the big thing is that because this time around we don't have the supply chain issues quite as bad as the last time. Most of, you can't really see behind me here, but most of the condo that I'm at here in my mom's condo is loaded full of stuff to be installed. So I would say I have the bulk of everything that's going to be put into the house is already here on site. So,
well, I'm glad that you are attempting to document this one, because when I hang around your truck at the expos and people are walking around your vehicle, I hear them ask about that all the time. How did you build this? How did you build that? So there's no excuse for you to build yours, because you're going to have yours to look at.
That's the thing is, this time around, I wanted to highlight the individual, because let's face it, whether it's me building a big truck or you building out a smaller truck or another guy building out a trailer or whatnot, we're basically all working with the same stuff, right? We're all have to put in the resources that we need to survive on the road, whether it's full-time or weekend or whatever, whether it's water or power or bedding or just, you name it, we're all dealing with kind of the same stuff. So I get to highlight. What I'm trying to do is break the videos up into sections where, I'm going to talk about, installing windows. And then another one, I just got done doing, I underbody painted everything underneath the new truck. So, what the process is of cleaning the surface and then spraying it and what products I use and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on now. And showing people like a lot of stuff you can do yourself, like I think we were having a discussion at Overland Expo. We were talking about window tint. I don't know I can't remember who I was talking about it with.
Mario.
It could have been Mario. Yeah. Well, I just got tint, on Amazon for, I don't know, $19 or something, a big roll of it. Well, I'm doing my own windows in the truck. I tint them. I don't like it. Last time around, I got a certain, I don't remember what percentage it was. I got a tint. It was a little too dark. I noticed I didn't like it. I couldn't see through the windows enough. So I just ripped it off and put a new one on. But it's not that hard to do. And a lot of people just don't think of that stuff, like I just did my door panels inside the truck. The military, they're kind of plastic and crappy looking. Well, I covered them with leather and put them all. It looks like something that you would find in a normal car at this point, and it significantly cuts down on the noise level. So, just stuff like that, little tweaks and whatnot. And I'm working with some probably about a dozen. I'm going to call them build partners that are sponsors that have come on board. Ranging everywhere from air conditioning to windows and doors to solar. I just got off the phone. I was talking to Jerry from TEMBO TUSK. He's custom making a fridge slide for me that goes inside, very similar to the one I had in the last truck that comes out. But I didn't like the way that it worked before. It was kind of cheesy because I was using the IKEA slide mechanism. So I'm using a TEMBO TUSK one in this one, but it has to be a little bit tweaked from some of the stuff that he does normally for, if you were pulling it out of your Jeep as an example. So, it's that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to work with these partners and highlight some of their products, because there's legitimately, I know you and I complain and moan and groan and bitch on the podcast about stuff and products and stuff, but there are legitimately, I'll use TEMBO TUSK as an example because, you always hear me talking about the Scottle, but I think there's a lot of people don't realize that they got all sorts of fridge slides. Now, it's funny because I knew they had a bunch of fridge slides and different slides for bicycles and other stuff. What I didn't know is that, like, I always see most of the slides come out and some of them drop down are really cool. They come like what I'm going to call horizontally, but I didn't realize he made a bunch of them that are vertical. So it's the fat side of the fridge going sideways, which is what I need. So, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that, I'm kind of excited to highlight because I think a lot of people don't know all of this stuff,
Yeah, I've sat in his booth a million times, and people will literally buy the Scottle and not even pay attention to all the other stuff lined up right next to it. They don't even realize that the table that everything is on is his table.
That's right. That's right. So it's a good example. That's just one thing, and I've been working closely with Turn Overland. They make some fantastic like doors and windows. So big upgrade on the new truck is my last one had basically an RV door that you would find in an RV that I got off of eBay or wherever it came from. And this one is, purpose built. It's like, I think the screen door might even be bear proof. I mean, this thing is a solid system. So excited to show people that, because that's something that is available in different sizes. It's not just for my truck, but it's, they put them in, expedition trailers and everything else. So a lot of cool stuff out there. And I guess I'll be using my truck sort of as an example to show people some of the stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because like I was even thinking when you were talking about the windows, that sounds like such a mundane subject. However, if you've ever done windows, you realize how important it is to know what windows and how to install them properly it is. That can make or break the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know what you're doing, it can lead to other problems in other parts of the vehicle structurally.
Like leaking and water infiltration and all sorts of other stuff happening that you weren't counting on. So that's right. So part of what I'm going to be doing is not only highlighting some of the stuff and showing the truck itself, obviously, but also talking about how to properly put things in and install them. Like solar is another good example of that. A lot of people, I think everybody in general understands that you got solar panels and you got a controller and it comes down and it charges your battery. There's a little bit more to that. There's stuff called amps and volts and watts and everything. And there's a little more science to it, and understanding how it works in order to avoid overcharging batteries, having fires, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into this stuff. So we will be talking about all that. A lot of videos coming out on YouTube from me.
And that'll be on your channel, on Drive the Globe's YouTube channel. We'll keep them updated here, but I want them to be clear.
Yep.
It'll be on your channel. So what did you think of Overland Expo, the one we just finished, Overland Expo West?
I loved it. For me, it was one of the better ones, Overland Expos that I've done in a long time. I think for a number of reasons. One, I think not anything to do with Overland Expo. The weather actually cooperated to a large extent. We did have some rain on one day, but it was way better than it was supposed to be. And the rest of the days were excellent. I liked the setup where I was. I liked the fact that this year they decided to put showcase DIY with creators, and you got an opportunity, people that would come by right where they dropped buses off would be able to go see their favorite YouTube person or personality, like Living the Van Life or Lifestyle Overland or Chris Shantz from Venture Four-Wheel Drive, kind of stuff like that. Patty Upton, for me personally, a huge highlight, both in the fact that she was in our section with a Jeep that went through the Darien Gap, but also that she did her presentation and was attending the show and doing that in itself was just amazing. I thought that the not to bounce around a lot, but like I really didn't have a whole lot of complaints about anything. I thought the food truck scenario was pretty good. You can nitpick lots of little things like why is the happy hour line for the bar always so damn long? I don't know, but I guess we bitch about that every time. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just I really enjoy. I guess let's put it this way: I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I maybe the last couple of years I've had like a not a negative view, but a little bit of a thing with the Flagstaff event in particular being a little bit too big. But I didn't feel that way as much. Although I've heard from numbers coming out of that, I think it set a record. It's the biggest Overland Expo in history. So. I think it went off pretty smoothly from my point of view, because I didn't feel like it was that it was too big. How about you? What do you think?
Well, you mentioned about record-breaking numbers, and it was, I think it was something like 33,000 people that showed up. I've seen, if we were to look at this as a bar graph over the years and how well it's been doing, do you remember the first West coming back after COVID?
Yeah.
It's been constantly going up since that point, because I remember I didn't think that was going to do well because it was right. And remember, they waited to the last minute to even decide to do it. So my expectations were so low. And if you recall, that was crazy. It was like jam-packed. Everybody was there.
Yeah.
And each expo that I've gone to since, I've kind of had this, oh, well, it's reached its peak. But every time they keep raising the bar. I keep thinking, yeah, I've been going to these too long. I've gotten used to things. This next one is going to be boring because I know everything. I've seen everything, blah, blah, blah. But every time there's new vendors I want to meet, there's new products I want to see. The food always gets better and better somehow. So my overall is it exceeded not only expectations, but it exceeded expectations that have been set pretty high. And especially with this new company running it now, a lot of times that's when you have to worry about glitches. And I'm sure there were some glitches, but I can't think of what they were. I didn't see them. I didn't feel them. And then, you know, I'm a unabashed fanboy of this stuff. I openly admit that. I'm a fanboy. And it was just awesome seeing, you always see a lot of the top social media people there and people who are actually nomads and out there doing it. But this was like pretty much the who's who of Overland Expo. What's his name? Andre Pierre. He was there.
Andrew St. Pierre White was there. He came, from Australia. You had a range. And I was about to say, you guys out there listening, take it from the two of us. I mean, if we thought it was good and had a great time, we were both a little on the stressed out, not normal side. Phil was there with a different vehicle for the first time that I can ever remember. I was there literally with a U-Haul truck unloading my truck that had just sold. So we had a bunch of extenuating circumstances going on in our worlds. But you're right. I think it was I felt like I talked to more people and everybody, I mean, some of them, unfortunately, this is the way it always is. You run into somebody and you talk to them for 10 minutes and you say, I'll see you tomorrow or whatever. You never see them again that weekend. But I do feel like I talked to just about everybody. You know what I mean? Like I talked to a lot of people there.
And I want to be more definitive about what I was saying about some of the people. I saw a lot of people who I have utmost respect for. I admire what they are doing or what they have done. Not a bunch of flash in the pan social media people who know how to do a lot of camera tricks. I mean, it was a lot of people who I've been following their story for years, and they've been out there really doing it. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. And like you mentioned, Patty Upton, it would be remiss for us not to mention that we both sat in on her workshop regarding her trip and her accomplishments. And I would say it was maybe 80% men in the audience.
Yep.
And I'd say of those 80% of the men, I'd say about 60% of them were in tears at some point during this presentation that she did. And it was I would have another reason why I enjoyed it. One of the highlights of me as far as interviewing people in the overlanding community, she was pretty much the holy grail for me so far. She has set the bar very high.
Yeah, let me add to that. If you guys are listening, if you have not watched Phil's interview with her, that is a must listen to for sure. And she, in my 13 years of being at Overland Expo, that was probably that was definitely the highlight in my 13 years. Her seminar that she did, and there's a good. I'm going to give you the good and bad of that. The good is it brought me back to my roots, and that's how Overland Expo, and that's how this whole world of overlanding adventure started. Was sitting around a campfire and chatting with other people that had like-minded things, and also camped in the woods and drove trucks in various places and did whatever. And so that was she brought it all back. Like, that is what I'm going to call real badassery. You know what I mean? Like that, her and her husband really did it. It wasn't about the glitz. It wasn't about the stuff strapped onto her Jeep, because, I know for the time it was probably a decent truck, but really it didn't have any bling to it at all. They were hand winching, and I mean, the stories that they told were just amazing. If you get a chance, go see her at one of the other Overland Expos or wherever she's going on tour with that truck. It is definitely worth it.
I absolutely agree with that.
The bad side, I said when we walked out of there, I'm like, that's it. The contrast between her and her real adventure, and I don't want to take this negative, but then the 80, I'll call it the 80% of the people that are shopping, walking around, strapping things on, bolting things onto their truck for no real apparent reason, never going to use them 1/1,000,000th of how she used it. And trust me, when I look at her, I'm going, man, I have not done a fraction of some of the crazy stuff that she's done. And I live full-time right now. I'm full-time on the road. I've gone to cross Africa a bunch. Some of the places she went to, I've been to, but my Lord, amazing. So, just when you think you do some stuff, wow. And I'm doing it with better equipped trucks, quite frankly. So, just amazed at her thing. But like, if you have a chance, and the negative is, I was so disappointed in the amount of people. You just said it. You just called it out, Phil. 33,000 people or something attended Overland Expo. How many people went to her seminar and then maybe talked to her at her truck and whatever? What was the combined total of that? I don't know, but I got to imagine it was nowhere near 33,000. And I'll tell you what, everybody that did not speak with her missed out.
Well, I felt like, the area where they play the films one night. I felt like there should have been like some special presentation of her, like in that pavilion.
Yeah.
It should have been forced on you to know something about her before you left the event. That's what that's how big a deal she was to me.
I totally agree. And the thing that really stood out for me was the juxtaposition of her, and then some of the other, I won't name the negative, but some of the other things that I saw at Overland Expo. And the two worlds colliding together. And it's like, wow, how can this all exist in one place?
I left out the presentation, and it was like my daddy gave me a whooping because I thought I was too big for my britches. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
She made me recalculate everything, because I've gotten too overcomplicated in a lot of things. Whereas it was real simple. And I was like, yeah, I need to get back to that. I need to get back to, or not get back to that. I need to try to get there.
Right. And some of it, like you say, is it's the basics. It's human ingenuity. It is just thinking outside the box. I mean, the one story that stood out from her, they were going through the Darien Gap, which in itself is crazy. And then and then it's like, what did it take them? 900 days or something, like to go 70 miles? It's like, you can't even wrap your head around this. And they were, in one particularly swampy section, she was talking about going along a ridge line because it's the only place that was dry, and it was so narrow that the Jeep barely stood on the top. And then you go along, and she was describing it as that you could throw a stone back to the last couple campgrounds that you camped at the night before. That's how slow they were moving. And then they got to what they called the big tree. And there was a big tree growing out at the top of the ridgeline that was in the way. And they had to get around it. You couldn't, what are you going to do? And, I just did the whole story about how they triple winched it, but we're not talking about like, remote control electric winches. We're talking about like hand cranking things and high lift jack in the truck and having it slide halfway down the bank. And I can't even imagine, but this is what she was faced, and her and her team were faced with a monumental roadblock, and they were able to overcome it by thought and by time and by taking the effort to do. It had nothing to do with push button and remote controls and extra gadgets strapped to your truck and calling in the Air Force or whatever. And none of that. It was like, here's a big thing that we got to get around. How are we going to do it?
There was no modern automotive convenience or accessory on this vehicle. And
you said it.
Right. I can't verify this, but I am a Jeep guy, and I know those didn't come with air conditioning. So I'm assuming not even AC. Nothing. I mean, they were practically driving around the world in a go-kart in comparison to modern day vehicles.
At one point, she was talking about how when it was leaning so bad, they had a chain system to strap the suspension down to level it out. And I was just like, I mean, genius, but I mean, I don't know if you noticed, and this is one of the things that caught my attention the most. Every one of I'll call them systems that she had in place to overcome challenges was what I would consider to be sort of a rigmarole, where you had to, manually strap the chain on and then crank it down and then jack up the other side and do that. It was all a process. Whereas, let's face it, today we're all about like, how do I do it fast? Right? Everything's about fast.
Right. And on the flip side of that, most of our vehicles wouldn't make it because of our weight, plus all the other stuff we add to it, making our gross vehicle weight even higher. Yeah. We would never make it.
No, my truck would have zero chance. Zero chance. I mean, it would be at the bottom of the ocean. It would sink in that. It would be no way. No, definitely not. Like if you had to make me do this to Darien Gap, I would definitely take my motorcycle. There's no question about it. I'd be on the motorcycle. I mean, the fact that they did it with a Jeep, with a four-wheel vehicle, and drove the whole thing is mind-staggering. I don't care whether it's 1988, 1958, or next year. It doesn't make any difference.
No question. That was so inspirational to me. Did you get a chance to look at the Toyota Tacoma when you were at the expo?
I did. I looked at it. I don't. I have very little to say because I don't. I'm going to just be honest. I don't know anything about it. I saw it. I thought it looked really cool. But that's it. I mean, other than what it looks like, I don't know a lot about it.
So I'm only bringing it up. So if somebody's watching when this comes out and they say they didn't even cover like this or that, this is our coverage of it.
That's right. We saw it.
I saw it. I went to the little presser thing that they had and all of that, blah, 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 blah. Looks beautiful, but I didn't get to drive it. And I did get to look at the spec sheet because they sent us this embargo thing where we got all the info ahead of time.
I did see that.
And the specs look good, but here's my honest opinion from what I know, from what I've seen, the little bit I've seen. Toyota seems to be very, very incremental in what they're willing to do as far as improving their vehicles. They're never going to just give you a completely new vehicle. So yeah, there were improvements. There were improvements that were needed, but what they did versus what Bronco has just done, what Jeep has just done, what Discovery has just done, everybody's come out with these badass vehicles. And I think they played it safe.
I think that in particular is maybe the difference between some of the Asian manufacturers and the United States ones. But what I've noticed is like Jeep is a good example of this. Jeep does not update the model that often. They tend to have a longer year period with the same truck. And when they do come out with a new model, a brand new one, it tends to be, they put it out there. You know what I mean? They really take some chances. And I agree with you. I think Toyota, I think they tend to update. It's almost like they repaint. It's like making a paint and they airbrush it every year. You know what I mean? There's a lot of little upgrades very frequently.
And there's a benefit to that because they don't make these grand changes, fewer recalls, fewer issues with the vehicle. So the brand remains a high reliability vehicle.
For sure. I would say it's at the top of, for me, it's probably at the top of reliability. Somebody's going to attack me, but this is our podcast, so this is how it works. To me, God, how do I say this without, I'm going to piss everybody off. Toyotas to me are a little less inspired. I feel like you used the Bronco and you used the Jeep as a good example, and they're perfect examples of this. They have more character. That's just Mike's opinion, though, so you don't have to listen to me. And to me, a little bit of it has to do with both Bronco and Jeep harken back to the original in a much stronger way, where the Toyota, let's face it, the Toyota, if you want to go with the overlanding vehicle or you want to go to their off-road bread and butter, was the Land Cruiser back in the day. That's what it was. And these things don't really echo it very, very much, right?
I agree. So speaking of the Land Cruiser, which we no longer have here, have you had an opportunity to see the new Lexus GX?
Yep.
What do you think of that?
Discussion. I mean, you know, they did a bunch of stuff on that. I did like a lot of the stuff, honestly, but
well,
I don't know what is it because Land Cruiser was too expensive for the Toyota mark? What are they trying to do?
I have no idea. The Land Cruiser, it's still being made. You can purchase it in other countries and stuff. I don't understand the game that they play with these vehicles. Like you can get the Prado here, but you can't get the Lex. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I suspect that because Toyota, they're trying to move. I don't want to say downgrade, but the Land Cruiser was certainly on the very high end of Toyota from a price perspective, where it would fall more in a price perspective of Lexus. So I'm guessing that that's what that's all about.
Well, you know, the game used to be, if you can't afford the Land Cruiser, buy the Lexus. So you're basically getting the Land Cruiser with a whole bunch more toys in it
Yeah, that's right.
for cheaper.
That's right.
Well, my opinion of it is pretty much the same as what I have for the Tacoma.
Yeah. It was the same designer. I'm pretty sure.
It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
I can see, it's one of those, I think it's kind of like the Jeep. You're either going to love it or hate it. You know, people look at a Jeep and either they love it or they hate it. It's such a strong visual statement compared to the last one. Either you're gonna, and me, I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
And as far as the updates, the only thing that's really like sticks out is it's, forgive me for not remembering, but whatever the name of the one is, the Overland Trail rated or the Trail Overland or something, the highest one that they made for off-road.
Yeah.
The only thing special about it really is it comes with a locker, a rear locker.
Well, that's the Rubicon.
No, I'm talking about the Lexus.
Oh yeah, the Lexus is the yeah, I forget what it's called either. Overland.
They list a bunch of things. I mean, like they increased the wheelbase and you know it's like 4 inches longer and wider, blah 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 blah. But the only thing that really like
locker
was the locker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as a vehicle that, let's say I'm going to take one of these and go around the world and you give me your opinion because it probably will differ. I don't want that modern of a vehicle because I can't fix it.
Yeah, I think my theory has always been and probably always will, and I know I'm probably battling the I'm losing out here as we advance on in years every year. You know, obviously the old stuff gets older and the new stuff gets even more modern. But most of the world has not caught up. You know, what we see in America is not necessarily standard around the world. So like DEF fluid for diesel is a good example of that. You see that in America, but good luck with that anywhere else. You know, even fairly recently, I remember going over, well, this is right before COVID, but, you know, I was in Europe and rented a car that had a choke, had a carburetor. This is Europe, by the way. This is not, it wasn't in Africa. So, you know, our standard.
I haven't heard the word choke in a long time. I had to think about that.
Well, Phil, I started the thing up and it kept stalling. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Why does this thing keep stalling? And then I looked down at the dash and I'm like, oh, look, there's a choke. I'm like, what? It's a brand new car. I mean, granted, it was a, you know, a little Italian, you know, POS, I guess you would call it, but, you know, a little tiny thing or whatever. But, you know, it was also manual.
And you're kind of touching on it. Maybe you were heading that way. But like when you go to other countries, what a lot of people may not understand is like, let's take something that I really know about, like telecommunications. Like when we were at the peak of telecommunications and everybody started having phones and everything, you go to other countries and they still got a basic cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the vehicles that the majority have in other countries on other continents are very, very basic vehicles. A lot of them still have roll-up windows and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And I mean a brand new model.
And there's a lot of good reasons for that.
Yes, there is.
The infrastructure, the repair network, the parts, it's not as good. So the failure rate on I hate to say it this way, but let's use a roll-up window. The failure rate on a roll-up window is going to be less than an electronic package of a bunch of wiring and a bunch of buttons and that can mechanically go wrong or electrically go wrong, or the switch or the circuit, or there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. Not a whole lot can go wrong with the roll-up window.
I agree.
That's just the reality.
I agree.
So I think that people, for me, traveling, it's one thing if you're going to go buy the brand new Tacoma and you're going to drive it around the United States. Fine. And, and that's probably what 99% of the people are going to do anyway. So there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that is not the truck that I would want to take on the Pan American Highway. No.
And 20 years from now, we may be looking back and saying, hey, that's the vehicle you need to get, but not now.
Not now. That's right. Not now.
So what you got going on, Mike? Are you going to any events before Pacific Northwest? Or is that the next thing you're doing?
Nope. I am so I got a little hiatus here with my truck is at the metal fab shop. Gives me the opportunity to go to the Land Rover 75th anniversary Jubilee in Cortland, New York, this coming weekend. Whatever. I'm going to go up on Thursday to Sunday. Interestingly enough, I was one of the organizers and helped organize it on the 50th anniversary in 1998. So
we talked about that a few podcasts ago.
So I wasn't sure where I was going to be and what was going to be going on, I think, when we talked about it last. So since I'm, I don't know, it's only like 220 miles from here or something like that. I am going to attempt, if you never see me on another podcast, you know what happened. I'm going to attempt to drive my 1965 Land Rover, which has been tucked away here in the garage. If I had to take a guess, I would tell you that I have put probably less than, I may have put less than 1,000 miles on that truck in the last 10 years. So it's largely been retired for a long time. I did restore it and everything after it came back from Africa, but has gotten very little use. So I'm going to attempt to drive the 220 miles back and forth to the Land Rover event. We'll see what happens.
You got to take some footage of it.
Not
just the event of your vehicle, because you're not really getting into it, but you got a sweet rig.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to take it in what I'm going to call the minimal form. It's going to be on this with the soft top, and I'm not going to put the hard top on the roof and the safari roof and all the rooftop tent. I'm not taking any of that stuff with me, but it'll go with the minimal, because between you and I, that thing.
So tell everybody what it is. Tell them what you're driving.
It's a 1965 Series 2A Land Rover, the predecessor to the Defender. I bought, I'm the second owner. I bought it in, I think 1992. I bought it. I think I've had it for close to 30 years, and it's like I bought it from. I came from an Idaho potato farm, actually. So. And the guy that I bought it from bought it brand new at a tractor dealership in Idaho. So can't make this stuff up.
So for the listeners, hopefully I will have gotten a picture from Mike to pop up for this podcast, because he's really he's being very humble about this vehicle. This vehicle could easily be in California at the what do you call it, the concourse?
Well, I mean, we redid it. I've actually redone it twice. I beat the living daylights out of it across Africa. Broke just about everything in it. It came back. I think I had it disassembled probably for 6 years or so, and we ended up, putting it back together. A couple buddies of mine, we rebuilt the thing. The top speed on it, though, if it can go faster than 50, I don't think it can. So this is going to be a long drive. It's slow, it's hot. You get carbon monoxide poisoning from it. It's not a fun drive, honestly. And unfortunately, when I rebuilt the engine, we did something. The rear main seal leaks, so I have to add generous quantities of oil to keep it going because it's just shooting out the back, I think. Anyway, so it'll be an interesting time. So I'm going to check in on social media and whatnot a lot with that truck because it's something different. I think a lot of people know me by big orange trucks. They don't realize that I even have this thing. But it's really it's definitely my first overland rig that I ever had. And it's been with me the whole time. So
what year again is this anniversary? 75th, right?
It's the 75th anniversary. Land Rover was started in 1948. So and it was based, for those of you guys that don't know this, the Land Rover basically stole the frame from Willie's Jeep. And the original Series 1 Land Rover was really built on a Jeep platform.
That's right.
So that's where they got the idea from.
Do you know if what the itinerary is? I would think for the 75th, because from what you were telling me and my little research, the 50th was like off the charts. So I'm thinking the 75th is going to just be crazy.
Yeah, my understanding is there's a lot of trucks going to this thing. I've seen various social media posts of different people going, like Bill Burke, big instructor out west, Camel Trophy guy. They've got quite a lineup of people that are going to be talking at it. And Land Rover US North America is involved, so they're bringing out, obviously the new vehicles, new Defenders and new Range Rovers and whatnot. But you'll have everything dating back. The center steer original Series 1 from 1948 is going to be there. So it's an interest. If you're at all interested in the Land Rover, Mark, that's a place to go. It doesn't obviously all this year is going to be different events, I think, around the country. There's a few out west as well, but this is the East Coast one.
Mike, that was a very strategic question asking you about that event. I'm working my way towards trying to convince you to go to an event that I'm going to.
Okay.
It's the BC Overland Rally.
Yep.
In British Columbia. Let me find the date real quick. Give me a second. July 20th to 23rd.
Okay.
That's it. I want you to go.
All right. Well, I'll have to check the old calendar. My problem is this summer. Well, A, I'm on the East Coast. B, I'm working on my truck, and then I've got a couple business trips that I've got to go on to Texas, and I've got Overland Expo Pacific Northwest that I'm flying into, and then there's something else. I can't remember what the other thing is, but
so if you fly into Washington, you can drive in with me.
Okay. All right.
So that's one option. I'm just saying, one option. And I'm going Thursday to the same people who do the BC Overland. I'm doing the Northwest Overland Rally. I know you can't come to that one, but eventually you're going to have to come to one of these. I've been telling you about this since we've known each other.
Well, Phil, if I kept to my original plan, which was to stay out west all summer this year, I'd be going to all of them. But I don't know why I got this idea I needed to build another truck. That's just really taken my whole life right off the rails.
Because I'm telling you, and I'm saying this also on the podcast for people to hear. There have only been, as far as the smaller events or rallies or whatever, there's only 2 events that I ever recommend to people. And the one is the one I met you at, the Vermont Overland Rally. And the only reason I don't recommend that anymore is because it's a new ownership. I don't know anything about it. So I just can't recommend it.
Yep.
And then my longtime favorite is the one, and it has nothing to do with it being in my state, I swear to God. It's the Northwest Overland Rally. So I'm trying to convince you to go, but I'm trying to convince other people to go too. If you're not already going, I just want to put the statement out there that whatever event out there, Overland, Rally, Expo, whatever you're going to, that romanticized idea that you have in your mind about the event, it was all created at this Overland Rally. This is the rally. Like I go to other events now and they'll have a raffle and everybody, they'll call the ticket number out and they'll say, they'll say the number and they'll give them a few seconds. Then people will be like, burn it, throw their ticket in the fire or whatever. That came from the Northwest Overland Rally.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other little nuanced things that you see at rallies that were just totally ripped off from the Northwest Overland Rally. So if you're looking for that more social, less vendor, actually doing things, this is the one to go to.
What year, Phil, what year is it this year? Like how many years have they been doing that event?
Oh God, let's see. I've been going since 2010, I think. I don't know.
Because I've heard about it a long time. So
it was happening before
a long time.
It was happening before I moved here. So it's before 2010. I'm sorry, I'll have to look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's been around a long time.
But like you'll go to some of these other events and basically you just sit in some area, you camp out, and then you walk over to a little vendor section and they're just trying to sell you stuff. And then they give away some stuff that you would have bought on your own anyway. Those raffles, they never give you anything real. Well, that's not the case at this one. Not at all. Just about everybody wins something, and they give away like winches. They give away like tents. And I don't mean like one. They'll give away like several winches. They'll give away like several tents. They'll give away max tracks with brackets. And I mean, stuff where you can't wait to run up there and get it because you wanted it.
Yeah.
You'll go to some events where they'll have a day where people will go off on and do trails and stuff like that. That's where it all came from. We go do the BDR. They do all kinds. They take you on all kinds of trails and stuff like that. And another reason why I don't mention a lot of these events is because I'm always telling you, I feel like Expo is the best place for education. And I feel a lot of these other places, they just get some guy that's popular on social media and they're like, hey, teach winches or teach whatever. Everybody that's at this event pretty much are the same people that be at Expo, like Bob Waller. He does training at Expo. He does it there. Andy Lilienthal from Warren. You can't get no more technical. He's the actual person from Warren.
Yeah.
So the classes, the events, I mean, they're all top notch, and they have been the bar for years on other people planning theirs. I have literally seen, and I won't mention their names, there's literally events in contiguous states where I have seen the person who started those events they originally were going to Northwest Overland Rally, and then they were like, oh, let me take that to my state. And I won't go too much detail because people will know who I'm talking about. But my point is, they have been the standard. Their ideas, the things that are going on there are what others go and say, hey, let's go check theirs out before we start doing ours. I could go into a whole lot more stuff about the event. And they don't just have like regular classes. I mean, they like have cooking classes. They have like the Pacific Northwest wine tour where you'll sit around and taste wines from all over the Pacific Northwest. And sometimes the actual wineries will be there. So you got your bougie glamping stuff. You got your hardcore overland stuff. And then I know pretty much every vendor that goes to this event.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm literally quoting from them. they look forward to going to this particular event because they don't really come to sell. They are not looking at how many, whatever it is, widgets that they sell. They are literally looking to hang out with the other vendors and the other people that they know that they've been hanging out with every single year. It is really not focused like that. Matter of fact, you'll probably get more food from these vendors than you'll get product because they like to feed you. You won't.
All right. You convinced me. I heard wine and I heard food. Now I'm in.
Oh, bro. Listen, you know how we're always fighting for a party, right? When you're first entering at the gate, the first thing they ask you is, do you want to go into the quiet area or the not so quiet area? So it's already defined. Hey, if you go over here, it's party time. And when you go to the not quiet area, it's going to be party time.
Yep.
So that's enough. I ain't getting paid for this. So, but I'm recommending it because Thursday of this week, when this comes out, it'll probably be over.
Yep. Or
going on. But I just wanted to talk it up because I think it's one of the best events in the whole United States. Period.
That's a lot. That's something to be said. So,
and I'm stingy with them kind of compliments.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, bro, we covered way more than I thought we were going to cover.
We did good.
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm going to have a lot more updates on my new build coming up, and we can talk about some more stuff on that. And let's circle around with our next podcast. I'm sure we'll be both talking about the events that we went to. So it'll be interesting.
Yes, please get a lot of footage.
We'll definitely do that.
I'm interested on a personal level about that.
And to go along with what you said, this is an event that I'm excited about because it is not just a static event like you were just talking about. We're going to be off in the woods. We're going to be doing some off-roading.
And there's nothing wrong with those kind of events. It's just that when I have gone to those type of events, I have seen the disappointment in people's faces because they thought that it was going to be more than what they got. Yep. Well, bro, I think this is a good time to wrap this up. If there's nothing else you want to say, I'm going to close this out. All right, everybody, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.